For Monday, June 15th, 2026 at 6 p.m. will come to order. Alex, we call roll.
Toller. Here. Lieber. Here. Price. Here. Holland.
Here.
Genowine. Here. Helwig. Here. Cheeseman. Murrah. Here. Mayor Cole.
Here, we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes for June 1st, 2026 special meeting, June 1st, 2026 regular meeting, the June 4th, 2026 special meeting, the June 8th, 2026 special meeting? If so, are there any changes or motions on those minutes?
They seemed fine. I move approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Holland. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Genowine. Any other discussion on the minutes? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Adoption of the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda? If so, are there any changes or a motion to adopt?
Approval of the agenda. Second.
Motion to approve the agenda by Councilor Price, second by Councilor Helwig. Any other discussion on the agenda? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by saying nay. Agenda is adopted. For visitors to be heard, please approach the podium, state your name and address. For any items not on the agenda, members of the public may speak under visitors to be heard for 5 minutes. Remarks are limited and there will be no decision made at this time. On each agenda item, public testimony will be taken at the beginning of each agenda item after the subject has been announced and explained by staff. Any citizen who wishes to may speak for one time for 5 minutes, and then public testimony will be closed and given to the governing body for possible action. At that point, only city council and staff may discuss the current item unless a council member moves to allow another person to speak and unanimous consent of the council. Questions, however, may be presented to the general public or staff through the presiding officer at any time. We do have a couple proclamations, and before we hear those, are there any visitors to be heard or anything not on the agenda tonight? Seeing none, I believe we have a representative from the Human Relations Commission that is going to give us a couple proclamations, one for LGBTQ plus Pride Month and Juneteenth.
Correct. Thank you. June's busy. We have two. Whereas everyone should be able to live without fear of prejudice, discrimination, violence, or hatred based on their gender identity or sexual orientation, and whereas the City of Vermillion supports the rights of every citizen to experience equality and freedom from discrimination, and whereas all people have the right to be treated on the basis of their intrinsic value as human beings, and whereas the City of Vermillion accepts and welcomes people of diverse backgrounds and believes a diverse population leads to a more vibrant community, and whereas the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer communities contribute to our cultural, civic, academic, and economic successes, not excesses, excuse me. And whereas the month of June is designated as LGBTQ plus Pride Month nationwide and is celebrated by cities around the globe, and whereas the City of Vermillion has a diverse LGBTQ plus community that includes people of all ethnicities, religions, and professions, and whereas the City of Vermillion will celebrate its annual Pride Month during June 2026 with activities for the whole community to participate in and enjoy. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Human Relations Commission of the City of Vermillion, do hereby proclaim June 2026 as LGBTQ plus Pride Month in the City of Vermillion and encourage the citizens of our community to recognize the accomplishments and contributions of citizens and visitors of all sexual orientations and gender identities. Signed, Aaron Burrow, Chair. And my next one.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Whereas the City of Vermillion recognizes and values the diversity of its residents and the contributions of all cultures that enrich our community. And whereas Juneteenth is a holiday that commemorates the end of slavery in the United States and recognizes the significance of freedom and equality for all. And whereas Juneteenth celebrates the momentous occasion of June 19, 1865, when Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, and announced that the Civil War had ended and all enslaved individuals were now free. And whereas Juneteenth is an opportunity for all Americans to recognize the struggle for freedom and equality and to reflect on the continued fight for justice and fairness. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Human Relations Commission of the City of Vermillion, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2026 as Juneteenth in the City of Vermillion and join with residents in commemorating the historical significance of Juneteenth and honoring the contributions of African Americans to our city, state, and nation. We encourage all residents to participate in events and activities that celebrate the freedom and equality that Juneteenth represents and to work together to create a more just and equitable society for all. By coming together to celebrate our diversity and promote cultural awareness and understanding, we can create a stronger and more vibrant community. Signed, Aaron Burrow, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you for both those proclamations for the Human Relations Commission. Is there any other visitors to be heard for any items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to public hearings. First public hearing we have is a request for a variance to decrease the required rear yard setback from 25 feet to 22 feet. This is in the area of, also on the side yard setback from 15 feet to 14 feet in the area of the Jack Powell Edition lots 6A through 15A, Block 4. Jose.
Thank you. So the city received a petition on May 4th requesting that the rear yard setback be reduced from 25 to 24 feet for the construction of 10 duplexes on the lots that you just described. While reviewing the site plan, staff discovered that a second variance would also be required for the duplexes to fit as proposed. This second variance that would be needed is the one that you mentioned, which would be the addition of the side yard setback reduction going from 15 to 14 feet. The city's council would be acting as the board of adjustments and would hear and decides all of these items regarding zoning variances. Prior to deciding any variance, whether a variance is to be granted or denied, the board needs to consider any public comment and review the criteria listed in the ordinance. We do have the memo has all the criteria listed in there along with staff comments. It should be noted that the proposed duplexes are part of an income-based housing project for the elderly. The project was awarded tax credits by South Dakota Housing and Development to facilitate the construction. The owner has constructed these types of housing in other communities. However, the land available and the zoning requirements in those communities allowed for the construction without the necessity of variances. Staff would recommend approval of the variance to decrease both setbacks. If approved, the rear yard setback would be reduced from 25 to 22 feet, and the side yard setbacks would be reduced from 15 to 14 feet. For the variance to be granted, there needs to be a 2/3 vote in favor of the entire board. That means that 6 out of 9 members need to vote in favor of the variance. We do have a representative present if there's any questions that I cannot answer.
Thank you, Jose. Is there any visitors to be heard on this? Seeing none, council, for any discussion by council on the variance? Is there any motions?
I just,
Councilor Lieber?
when those lots were plotted, are these houses that much bigger that people were planning on?
If you're referencing the initial lots for Jack Powell, yeah, these are larger. They're about twice as large. So we essentially had to take the original townhome lots and combine them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments by the council? Is there any motions? Motion approved by Councilor Toller. Is there a second? second by Counselor Murrah. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next public hearing we have is a special daily malt beverage wine license for South Dakota Shakespeare Festival on or about June 18th through 26th at the Prentice Park Bandshell area.
The South Dakota Shakespeare Festival has submitted an application for a special daily malt beverage and wine license for the festival on June 18th to 21st at the Prentice Park Bandshell area. The police chief's report states there have been no alcohol-related violations with this event in the past. A check of the Vermillion's police department records revealed no alcohol-related violations, and there are no felony convictions in South Dakota in reference to the applicants for the license. The police chief spoke with Rich Holland, the SDSF treasurer, and discussed the safety measures that will be in place to help mitigate any problems. The city has received the $30 per day license fee and the $20 advertising fee for a total of $140. Administration recommends approval of the special daily malt beverage and wine license for the South Dakota Shakespeare Festival on or about June 18th through 21st, 2026 at the Prentice Park Bandshell area.
Thank you, Nick. Is there any visitors to be heard on this topic? Seeing none. Council for any discussion? Councilor
I'll
Holland.
abstain since I'm on the board.
Council Holland will abstain. Any other discussion? Motion approved by Councilor Price. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Murrah. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Next item we have is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, all we have today is invoices payable. If everyone has a chance to review the consent agenda along with the bills, is there anything that you want to pull from the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion to approve the consent agenda by Councilor Price, second by Councilor Lieber. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Moving on to old business, we have a second reading of ordinance 1555 to amend Title 15 for land usage. This is zoning regulations. This would be in reference to R3 residential to general business district along property addresses 12 East Cherry Street. Jose.
Thank you. So the city council considered this at their June 1st meeting. As you mentioned, this would essentially be rezoning this area here bounded by the red thick line. That was originally zoned into the GB zoning district, and it was rezoned into the R3 district back in 2024, and now the same property owner is requesting the area to be rezoned to the GB district. This, as I mentioned, this was considered in the June 1st meeting. After taking comments from the public and asking questions of staff, the city council moved to advance this item to the June 15th meeting for further consideration by a vote of 8-1. No changes have been made to the ordinance since the council considered this at the June 1st meeting. With all that being said, staff and the city's planning commission recommend the city council adopt the ordinance as presented. A roll call is required since this is a second reading.
Thank you, Jose. Is there any visitors to be heard on this? Seeing none, council for any discussion. Councilor Holland?
Jose, we don't have screens, so I'm just going to ask you, has anything changed from the first reading?
No, nothing has changed since the first reading.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Any other discussion by the council at all? Councilor Lieber?
Just make note that, we changed this once already, and there's been, I guess, rumor that this may get asked to change back somewhere in the future again. The reason for the change is that one establishment wants to have a drive-through, and in order to get to the drive-through, they're gonna have to go all the way around these buildings in the back. And I talked to Jose earlier and asked why they wouldn't just replot that and take how many footage they need along the backside of that to get the drive-through there. instead of redoing the whole thing. And I just thought an answer for everybody would like to know.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, so the establishment that would be needing the drive-through would be way on the west side of the building. With that being said, anybody that wants to use that drive-through is going to have to go around the building and then come in facing south on the west side of that building. We can't take the 10, 14 feet off that R3 zoned area, because then that would diminish the frontage required for this area to be buildable and developable off Cherry Street. So in order for them to be able to use the drive-through and be it legal, then we would have to, they're essentially just rezoning everything. Now, you're correct as far as the R3 coming back at a later time, whenever that is, I don't know. But what we have discussed with the owner of the property at this time, and granted it could be a different owner, is the fact that this frontage of Cherry would be out of the question at that point as far as access, and the only place that he would be able to sell the property for it to be developed as residential would be either to the north or to the west, because those are already R3 residential.
Thank you.
Any other council for any discussion? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion approved by Councilor Holland, a second by Councilor Price. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, we'll move to a roll call on the machine. 8 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't ask, did the tallies show up behind me since we're not seeing on the screen here? They did? Okay, I just want to make sure, thank you. Next item we have, old business, is the second reading of ordinance 1556, amendment Title 9, in reference to noises prohibited. Addie?
This was read for the first time at the June 1st meeting, and it's changing the noise permits and removing the public hearing and then changing the decibel levels that are allowed. The production of any noise that disturbs the peace within Vermillion city limits is still prohibited by ordinance regardless of the time of the day. These changes are making the hours of regulation more accepting during the summer when it's light out longer and school's not in session, and then making them more restrictive during the school year. The only changes from the first reading were grammatical changes, and adoption will only involve publication costs. So administration recommends the approval of the second reading, and a roll call vote is required.
Thank you, Maddie. Is there any visitors to be heard on this topic? Seeing none, council for discussion. Motion approved by Councilor Genowine. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Holland. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, we'll move to a roll call vote as well on the machine. No? Yes? All right. 8 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. Next item, we have second reading of ordinance 1557 to amend Title 3. This is in reference, City Council adding a section for budget process. John, go ahead.
Thank you. This was a change that in the legislature a couple years ago in 9-21-34 provided some additional flexibility for the City Council with developing your timeline to adopt the budget for the next year. And our budget year is the same as the calendar year. For background, the City Council looked at this in 2025, but we found that there's a conflict excuse me, with the language that was in our home rule charter. City Council adopted an ordinance to place that question before the voters, and at the June 2nd election, the voters overwhelmingly approved amending our home rule charter to put language in there which would provide for the flexibility. So now that that step has been completed, the ordinance before you, 1557, it puts language in our city code, as the state statute requires, identifying your budget schedule and that timeline, which is different than in the rest of the state statute, which is what their goal was. There have been no changes to this ordinance since your first reading on June 1st. If adopted, then we would look to meet with the city council in July to kind of lay out what your budget schedule looks like and what makes sense with this new flexibility that you have to plan the 2027 budget. This is a second reading of an ordinance, so a roll call vote is required, and we do recommend approval of the second reading of ordinance 1557.
Thank you, John. Is there any visitors to be heard on this topic? Seeing none, any discussion by council at all? Just want to say this is, I think, a good thing, especially for the incoming council. It gives more time to do the budget process, and also our incoming finance officer to acclimate, and also for the budget process as well, to get all acclimated to that. On that note, is there any motions to approve? Motion approved by Councilor Price. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Helwig. Any other discussion on this? Seeing none, go to the voting machine. Eight yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. I'm sure the department heads will be pretty pleased with that.
I guess I'll give them more time.
Next item up, new business. First one is Planning and Zoning Commission appointment. By state statute, the city code of ordinances addresses appointments of members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Appointments of Planning and Zoning Commission. In order to avail itself of the powers conferred by the chapter, the governing body shall appoint a commission to be known as the Planning and Zoning Commission to recommend the boundaries of the zoning districts and appropriate regulations to be enforced therein. The City Planning Commission shall consist of 9 members appointed by the mayor and subject to approval by the council. The Planning and Zoning Commission is comprised of 9 citizens, and the board terms were for 5 years to expire in June. The opening was advertised on the city's website, in the city council meetings, and on social media. Unfortunately, a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Jim Wilson, had passed away in May of 2026. Jim served on the Planning and Zoning Commission for several years and was a dutiful commission member, and he will be missed. However, we do have to fill his role on the commission. Currently, we do have the 1 vacancy term on the Planning and Zoning Commission. There were 5 expressive interest forms that are all received and attached in the council packet. And one person, I'll get back to it, stuck out to me was, and I intend on appointing Tyler Messersmith to the Planning and Zoning Commission. When reviewing the applicants, and I consider not only each individual's qualifications, but also the current composition of our commission and where additional expertise could serve our community. Tyler brings more than 2 decades of hands-on experience in the construction industry as a journeyman electrician and with extensive background in commercial, residential projects, infrastructure, and code compliance. Planning and zoning decisions often involve balancing long-term community planning with the practical realities of development, and Tyler's technical background provides a perspective that is currently underrepresented on the commission and will complement the experience of existing members. Beyond his professional qualifications, he's also someone who approaches decisions thoughtfully, listens to others, asks questions when needed, and takes the time to understand an issue before forming an opinion. Those qualities are essential, I believe, in the commission as regularly considered matters with lasting impacts on property owners, businesses, and the future growth of our city. I believe that the combination of the construction expertise, his tradesmanship, collaborative approach, and commitment to learning will make him a valuable addition to planning and zoning. So I respectfully ask that the council approve of his appointment. So at this point, my appointment is for Tyler Messersmith to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission to fulfill the vacant term for Jim Wilson. At this point, is there any visitors to be heard on this topic? Seeing none, any discussion by the council? Motion approved by Councilor Toller and a second by Councilor Murrah. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by saying nay.
Nay.
Motion carries. Next,
I raised my hand.
oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, I have no doubt that Ty Messersmith will be very good. I reviewed his application, and I agree. I think his practical experience will be very useful. But I do want to point out that his application is rather brief, and so a lot of the information that you are referencing is not in the application at all. And in particular, when asked about why he's interested in serving, he, again, commendable, talks about growing in the community and serving the community, which is what we expect to see on these applications. And then further, under any particular projects, programs, or goals, he says none at this time. And meanwhile, out of these, one of the briefest ones, I think, if not the briefest application out of all of the 5. Meanwhile, there's another applicant who, on most of these questions, is answering in 4 or 5, albeit brief, paragraphs. And so I'm disappointed to see moving forward on an applicant who is, not offering nearly as much information and not nearly as much detail. Again, I think you're right in that Ty brings a lot of practical experience, and I think that that would be really great. But I am disappointed when other applicants put in so much more effort in these. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, being we already had the motion on that, and it carried. I guess we'll move on to the next one. Historic Preservation Commission appointment. Go back to the packet on that one. Sorry, I gotta get through all these resumes. With the adoption of the ordinance 1376 in June 18, the City Council created a Historic Preservation Commission, and commission consists of 7 members who shall be appointed by the mayor and subject to the approval of the City Council, and with consideration of the existing city historic districts and those residents who have expertise and interest in such fields as history, architecture, urban planning, archaeology, paleontology, and law as available. Unfortunately, again, Jim Wilson also served on this committee as well, and with his passing in May of 2026, create a vacancy in the Historic Preservation Commission. Jim was also a big proponent of the commission and will create a rather large vacancy, in my opinion, on that commission. The opening has been advertised at city council meetings, social media, city's website, and his term is set to expire in September of 2027. As noted, the ordinance provided for a 7-member board that resides within the city. 4 members of the board are to be property owners in one of the designed historic districts or owners of the property registered to the National or State Registry of Historical Places. City Code was amended in October 21 to include ownership of property of the Registry of Historic Places as a meeting the qualifications resided within the 4 members. Currently, one of the members meet 2 of the criteria, and when available, 2 members who have been in expertise in disciplines of history, architectural history, architecture, planning and urban planning, American studies, American civilization, cultural geography, cultural anthropology, or related fields should serve. To assist in evaluating if any applicant meets one of these disciplines, individuals completing an expressive interest form are asked to commit their background to meet one of these. The terms are appointed for 3 years, and the current members, we have 1 vacancy and 4 standing members of the Historic Preservation Commission. At this point, I would like to appoint Erin Ames to the Historic Preservation Commission. In looking at her application, she brings a unique combination of education and professional experience, directly aligns with the Commission's mission. She does have a background in art history, anthropology, archaeology, along with experience in research, documentation, and policy interpretation. Offers a valuable expertise that will benefit the preservation of Vermillion's historic resources. Also thought she had a thoughtful approach in referencing historic preservation with responsible community growth, and believe that she'll be a collaborative and informed member of the commission. So at this time, I respectfully ask that the council's approval of the appointment of Aaron Ames to the Historic Preservation Commission. Before we get to that, can I ask for any visitors to be heard on that? Now, council, go ahead. Move approved by Councilor Helwig,
I'll second, but I have a question.
second by Councilor Price. Go ahead.
So was Jim one of the members who had resided in a historic district or property?
I believe it was his home. Correct.
And Erin, and she does not reside in one of those? So we just have to think about that for when people turn over in the future?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, we still meet the requirements with the existing board. So she doesn't, I suppose, check the box in that area, but checks the box in all the educational research background. I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Next item we have is first reading of ordinance 1558. This is amending general provisions title for wards and boundaries. This is to reflect the new recent annexations for wards.
Thank you. Maddie's going to do the map for me. So with the recent annexations of 2 properties, the city needs to amend the city council ward boundaries just to ensure that residents are going to be represented once these areas are developed. Munger Tracts 1 through 3 were annexed in February 2026. The Blue Stem Tract was annexed in March of 2026 as well. The Munger Tract is located on the west side of South Dakota Highway 19 and south of the Vermillion River. The Blue Stem Tract is located on the east side of North Crawford Road and approximately 500 feet north of East Main Street. The proposed ordinance would have Munger's Tracts 1 through 3 become part of the Northwest Ward. The Blue Stem Tract 1 would become part of the Southeast Ward. Currently, both areas are vacant, so there would not be an increase in the population for either wards. Administration recommends that the City Council advance the first reading of Ordinance 1558 to revise the City Council ward boundaries to include these newly annexed properties to a second reading on July 7th.
It's a big one on my part.
Thank you, Alex. Are there any visitors to be heard on this? Seeing none, any discussion by council at all? Councilor Toller?
What are we looking at when we do the, like, as we go forward, as far as balancing out, like, do we look at like registered voters, John, or what are we doing with this? Because I just watched some of the voter turnout in the last few elections. I just see that my ward happens to be that it's usually fairly low turnout for some other high ones. So what do we look at when we're looking at doing these things?
So we've worked with CCOG. Usually it's part of the services they provide. So following the 10th census every 10 years, we partner with CCOG as they do with the other members in southeastern South Dakota, and they help us do that. Basically, we looked at 2 things. One is the population, and that's where it kind of becomes a challenge. As you can see in the memo, the largest population by this is in the central ward, the smallest in the southeast, but yet we tend to have more voters that show up or register to vote in the southeast than we might some of the other areas. So it's based on the population, and so and then also when we looked at it, we tried to impact as few people as possible when we move the ward boundaries around, so that people aren't being changed every 10 years from one ward to the other. But I think that is something that when we have the 2030 census completed, and it's usually in 2032, we look at that. While you do need to base it on population, it might be one of those that you evaluate to see with how do we balance out some of those voter numbers. Again, you have to base it on population, and there's a deviation, maximum deviation you can have, but it might be one of those to take a look at. I would suggest that doing that will probably impact more people that might move from one ward to the other in that. So that's, I guess, if you will, a trade-off potentially for the city council.
I noticed that you have the second most populous ward, but probably the lower turnout when it comes to that. So I guess that means you just have to get more people out there to vote in your ward. Any other discussion on the awards? Is there a motion? Is this an advancement, I believe?
Yes, thank you,
Motion to advance by Councilor Helwig. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Counselor Holland. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor to advance to second reading, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Next item we have is a resolution to authorize the purchase of a mower for the wastewater department. Jose?
Thank you. As part of the equipment replacement fund, the mower used by the wastewater department to mow the plant and all the lift stations was scheduled to be replaced this year. The equipment was budgeted to be, as I said, replaced in 2026. Recently, the mower mount, one of the mower mounts on the 12-year-old piece of equipment twisted off and significantly damaged the mower deck to the point where it's inoperable at this point. Staff looked into either welding the piece of metal back into the deck or purchasing a new deck, and both of those would be, we couldn't weld it because the actual shaft bent, and then the cost to purchase a new deck was over $6,000. So due to that, staff has actually looked into replacing the mower a little bit sooner than we hoped for. Regardless, we did look at Sourcewell. The vendor contacted was John Deere, which is the same brand as mower as what we were going to be replacing. The Sourcewell bid for a 1570 terrain cut mower is $30,398.11 and $4,353.58 for a 62-inch fastback commercial rear discharge deck. The mower gives you a choice as far as the deck that you want to buy or you can get. There's two, and that mower is the one that the wastewater department would like to purchase, I guess. The local dealer, CNB Operations out of Sioux Falls, has stated that they would match the Sourcewell bid. The cost of the mower, including the mower deck, will be $34,751.69. The 2026 equipment replacement my gosh, it's a bad day for me today. The 2026 equipment replacement fund includes $19,500 for the purchase of a new mower. The city will be short approximately $15,251.69 unless savings are achieved with the purchase of other vehicles or through sales. The budget will have to be adjusted during the review session this year. The current mower will be sold at auction, and as noted, it's damaged, so we're not expecting to get a lot of money from it, but whatever we do get is going to be placed in the replacement fund and hopefully cover some of that gap. Administration recommends the resolution for the purchase of the mower be approved.
Thank you, Jose. Is there any visitors to be heard on this? Seeing none, move to council for any discussion. Councilor Lieber?
Was it scheduled to be replaced this year, or they're just in the next few years? And because of the accident, they have to do it now?
We were going to be replacing it this year. It was just going to be later in the year, so it just got moved up by maybe a couple months.
That's quite a bit of jump difference in from what we had, 19,000 up to 34,000, so.
Yep, it's essentially about an 8% increase per year through the life of that vehicle or equipment. Yep.
But I assume you would have expected to get more back on the resale than you get.
Yeah, I think for this mower, we were hoping to get about $1,500 on resale, so we were hoping to get around 7 or 8. Actually, take it back, we were hoping to get around 4, but yeah.
Councilor Howard?
Thanks. I was just wondering if the other vehicles that we have planned ahead, have we looked at all, have we kind of checked the numbers? Are those also similarly higher than expected, or what are our sort of expectations for the budget year?
They all have varied considerably. Some of them are at budget and other ones are a little bit slightly over, and some of them, similar to this one, are considerably over budget or would be over budget. On some of the larger pieces of equipment, we do try and call the vendors to see where we're at, and if we notice a big discrepancy between the numbers, and we do adjust the budget at that time and then let the council know. But in this instance, there's a lot of times there's nothing that we can do.
Is there any other questions? Just looking at this So we're replacing a John Deere. Is it with it?
I'm sorry?
Is it with it? It's with a John Deere then as
Yeah, we're
well?
replacing a John Deere with a John Deere.
Let me ask you this then. Have we looked at other, I mean, I guess I don't buy a lot of big John Deere mowers, so I don't know, is there a huge price difference between a John Deere and the next brand?
I mean, if you're gonna compare, let's say, a John Deere and a Toro, then, yeah, there's gonna be a big difference between those two. Toro is the one that we typically, well, that we purchase at the, for the golf course, so that would be another vendor that we have. We also purchase Hustlers, from Ace, and those, they're not bad mowers, but they typically don't last as long as some of these other pieces of equipment. So it's a trade-off as far as, do we pay less for the mower that we're gonna have to replace every 3 years? At the end of the day, the rent is about the same as what this mower would be. So it's a balancing act. Sometimes maybe the prices don't increase as fast, but they also don't last as long as a John Deere. This machine has lasted for 12 years, and if it wouldn't have broken, it would have actually gone over to the police department for them to be able to mow the gun range. And at that time, we were expecting that machine to be able to last at that location for another 4 or 5 years, possibly more.
So they're still gonna have to borrow a lawnmower, is what you're saying?
They're still gonna have to borrow a lawnmower. We're trying to figure this out right now because unfortunately what they wanted to have died. So. Is it one of these? Is it a 2026 John Deere? Yeah. Depreciated quite a bit.
I just didn't know if the name brand was a huge difference in price, whether it's a Toro or John Deere. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I didn't know.
Yep.
This is not my wheelhouse. Okay. Any other discussion on this? Any motions? Motion approved by Counselor Genowine. Is there a second? Second by Counselor Murna. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Next thing we have is city manager's report. Take it away, John.
Thank you. Well, in addition to her presentation skills, she finally got the noise ordinance through. We've been giving her a bad time about it. But I do want to take a moment to recognize Maddie Lehman. She is going to be leaving us here in early July as she is going to move to very northern Minnesota to be a management analyst for community up there. So we appreciate all the work that Maddie's done for us. Received her MPA from USD in May and an undergraduate degree from USD 2 years earlier, roughly. But we've been privileged to have Maddie work with us for the last almost year, probably, wasn't it? Or she'll complete a year. So we wish Maddie the best, and she's always welcome to come down here where it's warm to see us. So
Miami of South Dakota.
there you go. We'll get her one of those shirts, Miami of South Dakota. You can wear it up there. And from the council perspective, a couple of meetings before your next regular city council meeting on Monday, July 6th. There's 3 weeks between meetings this time. The next library board meets this coming Wednesday, June 17th. That's at 6 p.m. in the Kozak room at the library. You, as a city council, have a special meeting next Tuesday, June 23rd at noon. That is with our light and power building. It has to do with a bid award so that we can keep that process moving. I appreciate your time to be able to join us for that. And then on Thursday, the 25th at 5:30 here in Vermillion, our Joint Powers Board, which the Joint Powers is the combination with City of Yankton, Clay County, and Yankton County for the operations at the landfill, recycling center, and the transfer station. They have one of their quarterly meetings. Again, that one's Thursday, June 25th here at City Hall. Next Monday, June 22nd, the Planning and Zoning Commission has a meeting. They have a number of items on their agenda. First, they're going to be meeting with the Clay County Planning Commission. They have a couple items that they're going to be talking about within the JJZA. One is a boundary of the JJZA, something the City Council and County Commission discussed a while back. And there's also a rezoning just west of town a little ways that will be, the Planning and Zoning Commissions are making the recommendation to the governing bodies, and you'll have, they'll be considering that rezoning request to make a recommendation to the City Council and County Planning Commission. Then the City Planning Commission will have their meeting with items related only to the city. One is an ordinance change to allow a mixed-use building in the general business zoning. Also, an ordinance change to allow for a convenience store with fuel and housing as a secondary category of mixed use, a special category of mixed use. Jose is contagious, I guess. And then we have a proposed TIF District number 13. This would be at the southwest corner of Elm Street and Alumni Street. And the boundary proposal for that TIF district would be before the City Planning Commission. And then we also have a final plat for the Planning Commission to take a look at. Our Vermillion Housing Authority, the City Council makes appointments to that. It is a 5-member board. They serve 5-year terms. They do have one term that is expiring here at the end of June. We do have those expression of interest forms available on the city's website or at City Hall. We'd ask that those be turned in the end of this month here so that the City Council could consider that at their July 6th meeting. City offices are closed this coming Friday, as noted at the beginning of the meeting, with the Juneteenth holiday, and then on Friday, July 3rd, with the July 4th holiday. There will not be curbside recycling collection on those respective Fridays. Speaking of Main Street or July 4th, just a reminder that East Main Street, as we alluded to a little bit earlier, the Shakespeare Festival is this week. So the East Main Street on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 6:45 p.m. until 10 p.m. That will be closed between Plum Street and Walker Street for the production. And then also the July 4th activities taking place at Prentice Park. North Plum Street from East Main Street, Northeast Clark Street. That's going to be closed from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. On Saturday, July 4th. East Main Street from Plum Street to Walker Street will be closed from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. that Saturday, July 4th, as part of the community celebration for July 4th, America's 250th celebration. That's all the items I have.
Thank you, John. Is all I have on the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Councilor Murr, second by Councilor Lieber. Any other discussion? All in favor to adjourn, signify by saying aye. Opposed by saying nay. Meeting adjourned.